The Atlantic Coast Conference. Go back to they got an East and a West too.
They got an Atlantic and a Coastal.
Yes.
So I'm going to bring up the Atlantic first.
Okay, now it's important to mention, you don't have to pay too much of attention to the ACC Atlantic and ACC Coastal because this is the last year you will ever see that. Starting next year, the ACC announced they will go back to a single division conference, just 14 teams. And the way they're doing the scheduling is each team will have 3 rivals that they play every single year. And then the remaining 10 teams in the conference you'll play on a rotation.
Okay.
Which is cool. It's easier to follow, except Miami isn't one of Clemson's rivals. So we're not going to see Miami-Clemson every year, which is disappointing. Because if they're combining the two, that's the game I would want to see every year.
Right.
And then Florida State got shafted. They get to play Clemson and Miami every year because that's 2 of their rivals. That's kind of bullshit, but that's what they're doing moving forward. But for this year, we still have the Atlantic and the Coastal, and here's the Atlantic here. I think Clemson steamrolls. I think it's going to be a very chalky year in college football. People are acting like, Clemson had the worst year they've had in like a decade last year. They went 10-2. They went 10-2 in this terrible year. DJU is starting at quarterback in week 1, but I think there's a chance that he is benched by week 3, and I still don't think it even matters. Clemson's got that kid. It's Kurt Klubnik, I think it is, who's supposed to be like the next Trevor Lawrence. He's a true freshman. He's waiting to take DJU's job. It'll happen any week.
Right.
So, I think Clemson steamrolls here. I agree, Scoop. Big regression. If I had to pick a second team in the ACC Atlantic, I'd go with NC State. They went 9-3 last year, and they returned they're 12th in the entire country in returning production.
Gotcha.
So you got a 9-3 team bringing everyone back. So NC State, a lot of people are big on.
So it seems like Duke has themselves a hell of a football program. I've been saying this for a while.
They got worse. Like a lot of the stuff I've watched, like people when they get to the Duke breakdown, they're like, start laughing.
Didn't Duke have a good year a couple years back?
Well, they had Daniel Jones.
Oh,
DJ. All right, so last year, 0-8 in the conference. Hello.
They weren't even good with Daniel Jones, but Daniel Jones was good with them.
Yeah, too bad he's not good with the Giants. That sucks. But anyway.
Actually, I don't mind that at all.
I mean, yeah, of course. For us Cowboy fans, yeah, of course, we like that. All right, so obviously Pitt last year went 11-3, 7-1 in the conference, scored a whole bunch of points.
They lost Kenny Pickett, though.
And they lost Kenny Pickett. So now what's the replacement for Kenny Pickett?
They bring in Keaton Slovis, he was the starter at USC last year. He's transferring because Lincoln Riley went out there and brought Caleb Williams from Oklahoma with him.
College football is a bitch these days.
Yo, I'm going to ask you. I got to ask you this, Kyle, and maybe you could shed some light on it. This portal thing, right? There's all the transfers that are happening, and it happened and it started with COVID because COVID actually, was nixing a couple programs. So of course, like the portal was open for you to go play somewhere else. Is this like going forward? Is this going to be forever going forward, no matter what COVID is or whatever variant is running wild, like Hulkamania? Like, is it just going to be like you can just do whatever you want?
I think so, but here's the thing: when it first started happening, I was like, "This is ridiculous," but it's actually turning into a positive if you're a college football fan because I know so many starting quarterbacks in the country. Just because someone gets benched, they just transfer to a lesser school. Like right now, Keaton Slovis should be a backup at USC. I know who that is. I watched him last year, but I get to watch him. I don't know who would be starting at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
That is a good point.
So I know, like, out of the 130 FBS teams, I probably know like 85, 90 starting quarterbacks now, and a lot of that is because of the transfer portal.
I know
that makes that possible.
Bryce Mitchell.
Right. So all right. So outside of
Bryce Young.
Bryce Young. So I know 0.
You're an offer.
That is perfect.
So the 11-3 Pittsburgh Panthers, obviously 7-1. What?
I'm just laughing. Who is there a Bryce Young? Does he exist?
Yes.
He's Alabama's quarterback, probably the Heisman winner.
All right. So is there a Bryce Mitchell?
No.
I'm sure one exists.
Sure, yes. They're probably, if you Google Bryce Mitchell, they're out there, definitely. So how about the chance for all those U fans out there? Any inkling of Miami could be good?
A lot of people are huge on Miami this year because Tyler Van Dyke took over at quarterback, and this kid can sling it. He's got the Carson Wentz red hair going.
Yuck.
Yeah.
So he's got no soul. All right, go ahead.
but this conference, a lot of people are thinking Pittsburgh's going to take a huge step backwards with Kenny Pickett. But I like Slovis. So actually, this is a 2-man race between Pittsburgh and Miami. Virginia Tech has a new coach. It's Brent Sly.
Okay.
is he was the D coordinator at Penn State. He got a head coaching gig. He's at Virginia Tech. But overall, this is between Pittsburgh and Miami, and it's pretty open. I think it's just going to be a coin flip. That game happens, I think, in October. So that's the two teams you watch for on this side. Clemson versus one of those two teams. That's the ACC.
Okay. And you can bring us back up. But when I'm looking at North Carolina, right, I feel like all of their running backs have skipped town over the last couple of years. So do they have a running game, or is that just teams going to be?
And they lost Sam Howell, too.
And they lost Sam Howell, their quarterback. So, like, North Carolina, I feel like is going to be like a little bit of a step back ski unless they have.
Somehow, their win total's still at 7.5. I bet the under. But you know what? There's some. I've seen a few ACC writers that know more about the ACC than I could ever hope to know that like North Carolina this year. So I'm not going to sit here and be like they're wrong.
They don't have any guys that transferred from like Texas to go play quarterback at a lesser school. That's not happening.
Yeah,
over there.
You know what? 1 second. Let's see if they did get a.
It's very possible. It's very possible. Yeah, because I figured what's this guy? What's his face's son commit to Texas? Arch, another Manning,
but
right?
they also have the best Ewan or something, the quarterback that was the number one prospect or number one rated quarterback coming into college last year. So there's two.
He left. Didn't he get like a text in like lunch or homeroom and said like you're going to Texas and didn't have to take a snap? Didn't that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I remember that.
I'm not sure.
Anyway, all right.
I don't like North Carolina. It's between Miami and Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. You got it. ACC. What do we